Today, we're going to unpack one of the most famous poems ever written, but not just as literature. We're going to look at it as a kind of psychological blueprint for the anxious modern mind. Yep, we're diving into T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
So the poem kicks off with this line. And wow, what a line it is. It's immediately unsettling. I mean, instead of a beautiful sunset, you get this image of paralysis, a body knocked out on an operating table. It just screams numbness and stagnation right from the very first sentence.
And that's really the big question we're tackling here, because this is no love song. If anything, it's an anti-love song. It's a peek into a totally new kind of consciousness that was just starting to form in the early 1900s, one that's just brimming with anxiety, paralysis, and this deep, deep sense of being alone.
And the key to this whole mystery? Well, it's the man himself. So let's meet him. This is J. Alfred Prufrock, our case study for what it feels like to live in the modern world.
The first thing you need to know is that Prufrock is not a hero, not even close. He's this middle-aged guy living in the city, completely trapped inside his own head. He's all about his internal conflicts, his constant overthinking, and this paralyzing fear that everyone is judging him all the time.
And this is basically his catchphrase. His indecision is just crippling. Every little thing he thinks about doing, he blows it up into this massive, universe-altering event. And that hesitation, it keeps him totally frozen, unable to do, well, anything meaningful at all.
And wow, this line, it just nails the result of all that inaction. His life isn't full of big moments or passionate risks. Nope, it's been carefully measured out in these tiny, trivial little social routines. It's the very definition of a life of quiet desperation.
This really gets to the core of it. He has this profound sense of inadequacy. He knows he's not the main character in his own life. He sees himself as a background player, a sidekick, not the tragic hero, but maybe the bumbling fool who gets a few lines.
So you have to wonder, right? What's going on here? Is this just one guy's personal problem? Or is his anxiety a symptom of something way bigger? To really get inside his head, we have to look at the world that made him.
So let's zoom out to the crucial backdrop for all this, the Industrial Revolution. This era didn't just change how we made things, it totally rewired society itself and a person's place in it.
Now, what's so fascinating here is just the sheer scale of this change. Society went from these small towns where everyone knew each other, all centered around church and family, to these massive anonymous cities powered by commerce and machines. Suddenly, community ties were replaced by the loneliness of being in a crowd.
And this change happened so fast it was almost explosive. In just 1 century, the number of big cities in Europe multiplied by almost 6 times. Can you imagine millions of people flooding into these new, strange urban centers? It created a completely new and often very alienating social landscape.
And of course, this new world came with a whole new rulebook, a new kind of social pressure. The crazy paradox is that being in an anonymous city made people feel more watched, more judged than ever before.
Prufrock just captures this feeling perfectly. Life in the city becomes a performance. You don't just get to be yourself, you have to constantly build and present a version of yourself, a face, a mask, just to get through the day.
And who is driving all this new pressure? Well, it was the rise of the bourgeoisie, this new, powerful middle class. They set up all these strict, unspoken rules about how to act, what to say, and how to behave. It created this suffocating atmosphere where one wrong move could mean social death.
So, you see, Prufrock's prepared face is a direct response to that world. His anxiety isn't just in his head, it's a survival tool. In these new social settings, he feels like an insect pinned to a board, pinned and wriggling on the wall, totally scrutinized by everyone.
Now here's where Eliot's genius really shines. To capture this broken, modern mind, he couldn't just write a normal poem. He had to invent a whole new way of writing. The style of this poem isn't just for show, it's the whole point.
And just look at how he does it. The poem is fragmented. It jumps between thoughts and images with no clear links, kind of like how your mind wanders when you're anxious, right? It uses free verse, so the rhythm is all irregular, mimicking Prufrock's own hesitant way of thinking. And it's packed with references to these huge, heroic figures, which just makes Prufrock feel even smaller and more pathetic by comparison.
And can we just talk about this image? The yellow fog, a direct result of industrial pollution, is described like this lazy, passive cat. It just kind of drifts around without any purpose, covering everything.
It's the perfect symbol for both the oppressive city itself and for Prufrock's own aimless, paralyzed personality. Okay, so this was all written over 100 years ago. But here's the kicker. The reason Prufrock still hits so hard is because his anxieties feel incredibly, uncomfortably familiar. They echo perfectly in our own digital world. Seriously, just think about it for a second. That feeling of being constantly watched, the pressure to perform and present a specific version of yourself, a life that feels like it's measured out in small, trivial interactions. Does any of that ring a bell? What's so wild is how neatly Prufrock's world maps onto ours. The fancy drawing rooms he dreaded are now our social media feeds. The judging eyes are now measured in likes and followers, and that pressure to prepare a face, well, today we call that curating the perfect online persona.
That terror of being put under a microscope, of being defined and dismissed by what other people think, that's the heart of Prufrock's paralysis. And it's the very same fear that drives so much of our anxiety today. The technology is different, but the feeling is exactly the same.
And this is the tragic place all that fear leads him. He can glimpse a world of beauty and real connection, that's what the mermaids represent, but he feels completely, utterly cut off from it. He's convinced that world just isn't for him.
The poem ends on this incredibly haunting line. His brief moment of dreaming is shattered by the human voices of the real world, the same judging voices he's been afraid of all along. For Prufrock, waking up to reality isn't salvation, it's drowning. And that's a pretty powerful final thought on the crushing weight of social pressure in the modern world, both then and now.